All right, for the past 30 years or so, we've designed everything online with just one person in mind, the human user, right? But that whole era, it's coming to an end. We're about to talk about a huge fundamental shift in design, moving away from shaping human experience and towards satisfying machine judgment. So let's get into it. Now, really think about this for a second. What if your most important customers never actually visit your website again? What if the biggest, most crucial decisions about your brand are being made by an AI, on behalf of a user, way before a person ever even sees your site? Because that's the world we're heading into. The entire playing field is changing, and believe me, the old rules just don't apply anymore.
The interface didn't just disappear overnight. It's been thinning out step by step. First, search results became answers. Then those answers became summaries. Now summaries are turning into recommendations. And those recommendations are becoming actual automated actions. With every single one of those steps, we've traded a little bit of our control for more convenience. And what that's done is push the really important decisions further and further upstream, deep inside the AI's own reasoning process.
So this whole shift, it creates the central conflict for pretty much every designer out there today. We're moving from a world of designing for human experience to one of designing for machine judgment. The entire playbook is being rewritten from scratch.
Okay, so think about it like this. The old world, user experience or UX, that was all about persuasion, getting clicks, guiding human attention. But this new world, and let's call it reasoning experience, or RX for short, well, it rewards something completely different. It's all about clarity, structure, and pure logic. The goal isn't to be clever or persuasive anymore. The goal is to be so clear that it's impossible for a machine to misunderstand you.
But look, this is way more than just a fancy new search engine. Search was a ranking problem. AI is a judgment problem, and that is different in three really important ways. First, it's selective. An AI might look at 10 options, but only show you 3, or maybe just 1. If you're not chosen, you might as well not exist. Second, the AI has to justify its reasoning. It has to explain why it made a recommendation. And third, it's cumulative. Trust gets built up over time. It's not about winning a single search. It's about being reliable again and again.
And that right there is why all the old strategies are starting to break down. All that content's designed to grab a human's attention, the clever headlines, the persuasive language, it just doesn't work on machines. An AI isn't swayed by a witty tone. It looks right past your carefully chosen keywords to see the actual structure underneath, or, the lack of it. And a strong brand? It can't make up for weak, unstructured evidence. Not anymore. This really hits the nail on the head. The whole game is changing. It's not about fighting for eyeballs or owning attention anymore. Now it's all about earning your way into the AI's judgment process. It's about being seen as so reliable, so defensible, that you make the final cut. Okay, so how does a company actually navigate all this? Well, there's a pretty useful framework we can use called the AI maturity model.
So this model lays out a really clear path, a progression of control. Most companies are starting out at stage 1, just using AI to assist users with things like summaries. By the time you get to stage 3, the AI is actually operating on its own. But here's the thing, the real goal, the end game, is stage 4. And that's not just about replacing humans. It's about building systems of machine judgment that are transparent, that have clear constraints, and that are totally accountable.
But here's the catch. This is the critical hurdle. Most organizations, they get stuck. They fall into this chasm right between stages 2 and 3. And it's not a tech problem. It's a structural one. Their ambition outpaces their internal governance. Their data is a mess. They're trying to jump straight to full autonomy before they've even figured out how to establish basic control. So, what's the new playbook then? How do you actually build for this new machine-first world? This is the most important thing to remember. Intelligence amplifies structure. It does not replace it. If you just throw a bigger, more powerful AI at a messy, unstructured problem, you don't get clarity. You just get a bigger, more amplified mess. You get an AI that's making mistakes with absolute confidence. The foundation for everything has to be structure. And the main tool for building that structure is something called an ontology. Now, don't worry, this isn't some abstract philosophy class. Just think of an ontology as a super detailed map of your reality, but made specifically for a machine. It defines what things exist, how they're all related, and what properties really matter. Without that map, an AI is basically just guessing. But with it, it can actually start to reason.
So the priorities become crystal clear, right? You have to build the foundation first.
That means focusing on clear ontologies and being super strict about separating fact from inference and opinion. Get that structure right. All the flashy stuff, the fully autonomous workflows, the complex personalization, delay all that. Wait until you've built a rock-solid foundation of control and clarity.
Yeah, and a huge part of that structure is teaching the AI to understand that there are different kinds of reality. First, there's authoritative knowledge. These are the rules, the policies, this defines what should happen. Then there's observed reality. This is about patterns from data, what we see often happens. And finally, you have reported experience. Individual stories, reviews, this is what some people say happens. When an AI gets these layers mixed up, that's when it starts to hallucinate. But if you keep them separate, the AI can be really honest about what it knows for sure versus what's just an opinion.
Okay, so with this new playbook in our back pocket, we can start to redefine what it even means to be seen by an AI. So AI visibility, it's not about how many times you're mentioned or where you land in some ranking. It's about participating in an AI's actual judgment process. It's about being understood, being cited, and ultimately being trusted by machines. Because let's be real, if you're not part of the AI's reasoning, you simply don't exist when it's time to make a decision. And we can actually break this down into 3 key dimensions. First up is presence. Are you even being included in the AI's consideration set at all? Then there's citation. Is the AI treating you like an authority? Or are you just, an example? And finally, influence. Does the information you provide actually change the final outcome? This is how you measure what really matters now. All of this leads us to the one central question of this entire new era. You see, the old question used to be, how do users experience our website? But the new question is so much more profound. It's, how do machines judge us when no one is watching? And you know what? The organizations that are going to thrive, the ones that will really win, they're not going to be the ones with the most advanced, biggest models. Nope. They'll be the ones that take real responsibility for how machine judgment is formed, how it's constrained, and how it gets corrected when it's wrong. Which leaves us with one last massive question to think about. In this new world that's totally mediated by AI, where all the power shifts to the people who design the very rules of reasoning, we have to ask, who controls the answer?